Originally made from stone, struck and fractured to become sharp, the knife is one of the first tools invented. Today's custom knife maker has a shop filled with tools to heat, shape, grind, and enhance the properties of steel, making a tough material even tougher. From hammer and anvil all the way to CNC machining, today's smiths make unique pieces for hunters, chefs, collectors, and home cooks. I'm Justin Lamoureux, owner, operator of Rainy Day Forge, president of the Manitoba Blacksmith Guild, podcaster, and finally, host of Fire and Slice. Over the course of this series, I'll make 3 distinctive knives for 3 people with interesting knife needs. Because of this, I'll try things I've never done before, and if I fail, I'll have to restart. There's no prize at the end, there's no cash, no scholarship. The gift I receive is a happy client and skills gained from making these knives. So let's get started. Let's light the forge. It's about to get hot in here. Welcome to the Forge. I'm Justin Lamoureux. On this episode of Fire and Slice, we'll be making a chef's knife inspired by the iconic design of the HBC Sheffield Trade Knife. Brought to Canada by the Hudson Bay Company, many of these knives were traded into Rupert's Land. They were designed for animal butchery and bison in specific, and the clip point helped avoid piercing hides and hitting the ground. But these knives are rugged, made for life in the wild, not the kitchen. So I have to come up with a design to make a performance kitchen knife. Livia Gloux left Winnipeg in her late teens to become a cook in the Northwest Territories. There, she fell in love with the culture and traditional native ingredients. Livia is now a trained chef that teaches at Tech Voch High School, and she has 2 requests for this build. One, that it be inspired by the HBC knife so that she has something special to prepare her 3 sisters stew with, and 2, that we inlay opal jewels into the handle. I've decided to make her something that's over the top. So we're going to make Damascus and fuse 2 layers of copper into it. This is known as cu-mai, and it'll be my first time making it. Overall, the blade and handle will have a lot of color changes to it, and that's to represent the Northern Lights. The jewels fit perfectly with this theme. This custom order isn't going to be easy, but I'm excited to push my skills to the limit. So let's get started. Let's cut the steel, prep our billets for the forge. It's about to get hot in here. The first step in making Damascus is steel selection. We'll be using 1084 and 15N20 so that in the end, we'll have an array of high contrast layers, black and shiny steel. The second step is making sure there's no mill scale on the steel. The cleaner it is, the better the chance of getting a proper forge weld. After alternating the pieces of steel, they're welded together so that the pieces don't slide apart. The stack of steel is called a billet, and this one has 20 layers. It's ready for the forge. As the billet heats up, I add flux to stop oxygen from getting in between the layers. Oxygen would cause a buildup of scale, and I wouldn't be able to get a solid forge weld.
That's the most critical spot there, because there's all these layers that need to be squished together and welded. So I'm going back into the heat, making sure everything's like blazing hot again, and get everything nice and even. So far, so good. So now I'm gonna change the dies and start drawing this out.
Now that the billet's drawn out, I'm going to use the hot cut tool to make a crease in the center of the billet. I do this so that I can fold the steel while it's hot and double my layer count. We've gone from 20 layers to 39. This billet will get folded again and get a total of 78 layers. To get the look of Northern Lights, we'll manipulate the steel some more. We'll draw it out into a bar, lock it into a vise, and then twist it along its length a bunch of times.
Twist is coming soon.
This extra step is pretty risky. I've ruined other billets doing this, but this is what I want to make Livia. It has to work.
I'm Livia Gloux, Fisette, and I'm the culinary teacher at Tech Voch High School. People call me Liv. My slogan's Live to Cook, and I try to put that into every day here at Tech Voch. I started working in kitchens here in Winnipeg. One of my first kitchens was actually Alicia, so I was a beet peeler, and then I became a pierogi pincher, and I slowly worked my way up. But then I started going to restaurants in the inner city, and I realized my best bet of growing and becoming independent was to find education and find myself. And so I kind of fell into cooking because I needed work. And that led me to be able to go up north. It was my auntie, actually. She knew I was cooking here and said, there's a job here. That job led me to other jobs in the Northwest Territories. So I worked at hotels, I worked at a mining camp. And then I went on to Edmonton to NAIT to get my Red Seal, and eventually making my way back to Winnipeg, where I found my dream of teaching culinary arts. So that really led me to where I am today at Tech Voch High School. I always wanted to teach in the inner city where I knew I could make the biggest difference in people's lives. And because really when I make a big difference in their life, I feel like that's what makes a difference in my life.
Okay, I'm set up for welding here. I've got the Damascus layers, the copper, and that copper's inset just by a little bit. That way I can weld right around, fusing like the Damascus layers and sealing up the copper inside. It's gonna go in the forge. That copper's gonna be pretty much liquid, and then it's going under the press, so I don't want any of that copper running out. Hopefully it works. So I just got the first press. It's a success. I'm so stoked right now. The steel is done. There was no copper run out, so I should have nice bold copper layers revealing itself on either side of the knife. I can take the knife to the grinder now to refine the shape and work in the bevels.
Whoa, it worked hard. Not good. Okay. Hopefully I can save it. Ah!
All right. Scared to look. I've cooled off. Oh, I can feel it. Oh. Oh my God. One way of correcting a warp is during the tempering cycle. By putting the blade under pressure with clamps and pins, I might be able to save this blade. She's flat. Feel like I dodged a bullet. It looks good. It's gorgeous. Super stoked. Super stoked. After hand sanding, the knife is going to be etched in ferric chloride. Because the surface of the 1084 is consumed by the acid, the result is variations in layer heights, the 15 and 20 being proud. I want to go a little bit further with it. Coffee etch. I'm getting there, and it's looking great. The acidity of the coffee will stain the 1084, creating the most vivid contrast possible. It's time for the handle, and these materials need some attention. These bisonhorn come from Whitemud, Alberta, and because they're porous, I'm going to stabilize them with black cactus juice. Once that's done, I'll fill the voids with epoxy. I'll do the same to some Manitoba maple burl. Smells like when you're getting your teeth drilled at the dentist, but like way more. Sculpted and sanded. Now for one last critical step. Drilling into the finished handle to inlay the opal jewels could cause it to crack. Okay. Both settings are a success. Once the epoxy is cured, I'll be able to sharpen the blade, add my maker's mark, and it'll be ready to bring to Livia. Pretty sure she'll love it.
Yeah. It's sharp. Livia!
Oh, Justin! Hi!
Hey,
Whoa, exciting! Anytime.
you ready?
I'm ready. Oh, wow! It's beautiful! Unbelievable! Oh, wow!
This is Manitoba maple here, and that is bison horn. And then of course the Northern Light jewels here, and the whole theme goes with the Northern Lights, with the sky coming in through here.
How cool is that? Wow. A nice blade. Wow, it's beautiful. That's fabulous. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I'm looking forward to cutting the bison with this. Awesome. This is a perfect knife for that. Well, let's make some stew. This recipe started probably 5 or 6 years ago when we started doing more Indigenous perspectives of cooking in our school. The Three Sisters stew, the corn, the bean, the squash, and then there's circle crops. So you have the corn in the center, the beans coming up, the corn, and then the squash, giving it nitrogen and working together. So I always kind of start talking about that when we start a big function with my students. I talk about how they work better together and how we need to work together. This recipe itself is special. I chose it because in 2 days from now is Orange Shirt Day and Truth and Reconciliation Day. We'll bless the stew with our elder, and then we'll serve it to all the students here at Tech Voch. I'm not making 1,200 people worth of stew. The students are making that. So every kid in the program has cut all the mirepoix. They're the heart of the kitchen, really. There we go. Thank you so much for my knife.
Thank you. Nice.
This knife really does hit home because, I mean, how perfect Manitoba for my Manitoba roots. I am, Manitoba first, Winnipegger, inner city, North End girl. And then the bison with the stew. But the Northern Lights is really special because I might have grown up in the North End, but I really grew up when I moved to the Northwest Territories. And the Northern Lights we saw up there are just the most magical thing. So this will always remind me of that. So thank you so much. Can you believe how that thing cut? And perfect in my hand. And rocking it, like a great bit of rocking herbs, great for slicing and chopping.